Hello friends! What do you do if it's the early 2000s and the only game system you own at the time is a Sega Genesis or Mega Drive if you don't live in the States? But you just really want to dive into the Pokemon craze that's going on in full force at the time. Well, I have the item for you. Today we're going to take a peek at Pocket Monsters on the Mega Drive, or Genesis as I and fellow people in North America refer to it. The game was released in 2000. Although I use the term release very loosely because the title was a bootleg game. But let's take a look at it. The game starts out with an animation of Ash Ketchum throwing a Pokeball, and you have the choice at the title screen to start game or option. So let's choose the latter and configure the game. Well, we're off to a good start. The game just freezes if you go to the options menu. The game starts you off in a stage called In the Forest. The game is a platformer as opposed to the traditional basic RPG Pokemon is known for. And I'd be lying if I said I didn't always want a game like this as a kid. The enemies in the beginning are not Pokemon based. It's like a monkey and a dragon thing. I'm not sure where they come from game-wise. Very soon after, you come into actual Pokemon enemies, such as Beedrill, and the greatest Pokemon of all time, Porygon, thank goodness. You collect gems as you go, which sort of act as coins, I think, as well as health and batteries. The batteries help you charge up Pikachu's electricity to do more damage than a basic jump attack. The way the screen scrolls with you provides an inconvenience as it comes to precise platforming required at certain points of the game, often resulting in some cheap deaths when I wasn't being super cautious. Pretty quickly into the level you come into the first mini-boss battle, which is a large pincer, and honestly it looks really good. I expected a lot worse from a 16-bit bootleg from 2000, but it's very big and detailed. At the end of the stage, it has you going through a small cave with Digletts. Maybe this is Diglett's cave? I don't know. The end of it has you battling a large Snorlax, and it's just like the pincer. You just jump on it a million times and then kill it. It's pretty easy. It takes a bit too many hits to kill, which is a little tedious and repetitive, but it's not too bad. These levels are definitely very short, but they get the job done for being an old bootleg. My biggest gripe with it so far is that when you get a game over, the game just crashes. I'm pretty sure there would be continues, but unfortunately the game doesn't want to cooperate. Stage 2 of the game is simply entitled, It's Hot. If only they entitled the first level, There Are Trees or something. It's a generic lava level, but I do like the look of it, and the music in this level is great. There's a lot of platforming in this one, but at least there aren't any cheap deaths like the last level. None of the enemies appear to be Pokemon, but maybe they were intended to be. The one enemy does look like a butchered Tentacruel. Kind of. This level's short and it ends with a terrible boss that's a giant obnoxious turtle that you can only hit when his head is out while he's laying on the ground, as opposed to when it's out when he's standing up. This is where the hit detection of the game proves to be pretty bad and unpredictable. But at least if you hoard the Thunderbolts, you can use them on the turtle and do a lot more damage than jumping on his head. Stage 3 is just called Jump Around, which is very suitable because that's all you do, you just jump around. The platforming issue with the camera I mentioned in Stage 1 is way worse than this one since it's even more precise platforming than the first stage. It's more enemies that don't really resemble Pokemon, like the yellow bird that makes a funny sound when you kill it. Or maybe it's supposed to be Zapdos, who knows. The end of the stage is another boss that in no way resembles a Pokemon. Maybe it's a Sandshrew wearing an outfit, but I'm really stretching it with that. At least it's just back to the tedious stomp on his head a million times as opposed to waiting to hit it like the turtle. Stage 4 is the Underground, which is a primarily overground stage. At least it has the Diglets making a cameo. Most of the enemies are weird non-Pokemon again, but the level's alright. It gets the job done. At least in the end is a really nice looking Gengar boss, which is a similar style to the other bosses where you just jump on his head. So you kill Gengar, again, I guess, since he's a ghost, and then move on to the next stage. The last stage, Hard Rock, is up next. This one has Ghastlies and weird Zubats that have eyes for some reason. The short level leads you to a very cramped underground segment, which leads you to what I believe is the final boss, which is an Onyx, which looks very nice, but I could never beat it due to the poor hit detection because you can only hit him on the head, and he's constantly swinging his head around. But unfortunately, I got a game over, and the whole game freezing after a game over, I didn't have the drive to play through the entire thing again. So I can't tell you what happens, but I think that's the final boss. Pocket Monsters is an interesting hack that I always wanted to give a go ever since I first started game collecting in the early 2000s. Thankfully, now that homebrews are more commonplace now, I finally got a copy of it. It's not a terrible game, it just has, some issues that are normal for a bootleg. I don't know what the game would be based on, but if it's based on anything, then it's probably based on another bootleg, because it definitely doesn't have the quality feel that the majority of the Genesis/Mega Drive library has. But if you want to play a platformer that's sort of based on Pokemon, where you just like weird bootlegs, then this game's definitely worth giving a shot. I'm very excited for the fact that I finally came into a copy of it, and I'm even more excited for the fact that the guy I bought it from sent me this for free, the sequel, Pocket Monsters 2. So huge shout out to that guy, even though I'm sure he's not watching my silly YouTube video. So anyway, here's the sequel, Pocket Monsters 2. Pocket Monsters 2 has a similar title screen, but at least the options on this one actually works. I'm guessing if they had worked on the first one, this is generally what it would have been. Maybe I would have been able to put the game into easy mode, and then I could have beaten it. This one captures a Pokemon spirit like the first one. Instead of collecting gems, you collect Pokeballs, which can be used as sort of a weapon in place of the Thunderbolt. A lot of the enemies are weird things, but then you have weird yellow Oddish, Pidgeotto, and Weedle right from the get-go, and they all look really nice. You even get Electrode, which is a Pokemon that scared me as a kid for some weird reason. And what's up with the Charmander just walks off the edge immediately? Stage 2 has you scaling what appears to be a cave or a mountain or something. Unfortunately, this is where I hit the wall already. The poor hit detection and bad placement of enemies makes this level really difficult. There's even a part that flat out tricks you with a Pokeball path to fall into a pitfall. Thankfully, there's some continues in this one, but even that didn't really help much, so I kinda threw in the towel early on this one. So Pocket Monsters 2, it's not as good as the first one, but I feel like it had more promise than it. If it wasn't extraordinarily difficult, I think it could have potentially been like a really good game. I mean, both of them are decent games on their own. They're not bad. The second one's a little too hard with the bad enemy placement and hit detection, but overall, they're both definitely worth playing, especially if you're a fan of bizarre bootlegs like I am. So yeah, thank you for watching. Subscribe if you were into it, and I'll catch you next time. Take care.